leaked down her sweet baby girl's round alabaster cheek as she blinked back at Naomi and nodded. Naomi tore her focus away from the droplet of emotion, afraid of what she'd do if she kept witnessing the emotional toll her relationship was having on Thea. She couldn't go back on her resolve, not this time. Whenever Dean took his stress out on her, her usual course of action meant hiding in shame in her bedroom and licking her wounds. After that morning, she didn't know how long she was going to last if she kept that up. Naomi wished she could explain the situation to Thea. But what could she possibly say? How did she explain that the man who was supposed to be the shining knight in her daughter's fairy tales was the monster in her own? She'd already called out of work for the day, and judging by the way her swollen eyes burned every time she tried to blink, Naomi would probably have to call out the rest of the week, too. Her boss would understand, or at least she wouldn't question it. Gail Hainsworth had enough to deal with as CEO of Charitable Technologies International, the same company Dean worked security for. As her assistant, as long as Naomi was connected to her laptop and phone at all times, Gail didn't pry. Mediating two company employees in a relationship would be messy and well beneath her pay grade. A honk brought Naomi's focus back to the road, and she slammed on the brakes. She'd almost run into the car in front of her, totally missing that the light was red. At least, Naomi assumed from all the stopped cars that the light must be red. Her eyelids were so swollen behind her sunglasses that she could hardly see. No more playing. It's time to finally get help. Deciding to suck it up once and for all and bear the secrets that scarred her inside and out, Naomi searched the street for an open parking space, miraculously finding one just behind the pale, nondescript building. Perfect. As soon as she pulled into the available spot, between a light purple Chevy Spark and a black Ford truck, Naomi leaned her forehead against the steering wheel, inhaling and exhaling to center herself. She was going to do it. Really do it this time. Come clean with someone about what went on behind closed doors. The attacks had no rhyme or reason now, and she needed to get out. Just that morning, they'd both been getting ready to leave for work, Thea for preschool, and it'd only taken one sassy comment and he'd been spittin' mad. The first punch had taken her by surprise. He'd never hit her in the face before, and she'd been so disoriented she hadn't even registered what happened afterward until he started choking her. Something about that in particular set off alarm bells in her head that narrowed her focus to the moment, and she'd been able to scramble away. But the most terrifying part of the argument was the look of horror on Dean's face. His lightly tanned skin had turned a sickly pale as he stared at his own hands, as if what he'd done to her was their fault instead of his, as if in that moment he'd had no agency over his emotions or decisions. The apologies he'd laid at her feet had sounded sincere, but fuck all to apologies. At this point, she'd just filed it away with all his others. His shock and remorse over his own actions had given her no comfort. It meant he'd lose control again, and now neither of them knew what he was capable of. The thought made her feel dizzy. Or maybe that was the pounding in her